The Miami Dolphins close out the 2025 season this Sunday in Foxborough, Massachusetts against the New England Patriots. Can they go out with a win? And is this Mike McDaniel's final game in charge?
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphins Show, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today and every day is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
Can we also get a Happy New Year to the people?
Happy New Year to the people.
Let's go. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the Same Old Dolphin Show here in the calendar year 2026. It is our 401st episode, if you can believe it. Our last episode was our 400th episode. We didn't even acknowledge it, didn't say anything about it. We just went on with our day, went on with our show as though it was no big deal. But just a quick moment to say thank you to everybody who has listened to and supported the show in any way since we started doing this. Do you remember the first season that we did this show, Brain?
Yes, and specifically this show, not any iteration of the show prior.
Not the old podcast, the Same Old Dolphin Show specifically. You remember the first season we did it?
I do. I remember at that point I was living in an apartment in Tampa, and I did not have a good place to record, and I literally was recording in my bedroom closet, talking about Ryan Tannehill and comparing Ryan Tannehill and saying, "Can Ryan Tannehill be Alex Smith?" That was the crux of our first season. Was can Ryan Tannehill be at least Alex Smith and get this team to the playoffs?
We didn't even get that far. Wasn't it the first year we were doing the show? Isn't that the year that Tannehill got hurt in training camp, and then it was the Jay Cutler season?
You might be right. No, I don't think so. Well, you might be right. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm thinking of the old show, and yes. It must have been, the first year that we did it was the year that Tannehill got hurt, and we did and it was the Jay Cutler year. I think you're correct.
That's right. So thank you to everybody who has followed along with us all the way since back then in the Jay Cutler era of the Miami Dolphins. In some ways, a lot has changed, and in some ways, absolutely nothing has changed. We're still the same old Dolphin show. They're still the same old Dolphins. It's a good time. But we're still here, and we are here today to talk specifically about the Dolphins' final game of the 2025 season as they travel to New England to take on the Patriots in Week 18. And that's what we're going to do on this show. But before we do that, a reminder to you, if you're not doing so already, make sure you are following us at Amplified to Rock, at Aaron the Brain. That's at Aaron the Brain. The show is at Same Old Dolphins. You can follow us on Blue Sky. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram now. We're there. So we hope that you'll follow along and have some fun with us. We invite you to download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphins Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, anywhere that you get your podcast. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Shout out to everybody watching live on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Smash that thumbs up button if you will. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Shout out to everybody watching on the I Am a Miami Dolphin Fan Facebook page run by the brave, smart, talented, handsome Carlos Hernandez. Make sure you're visiting DolphinsTalk.com each and every day. It is your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins, all the way through the offseason. And of course, make sure that you are subscribed to Dolphins Talk Extra, because we're going to have good content coming your way all offseason long. You get bonus podcasts, bonus segments, access to our games and contests. We've been having conversations about upcoming competitions that we're going to have over there at Dolphins Talk Extra. In fact, I think I can break the news right now that we are going to have a NFL playoff bracket challenge competition. If you're a member of Dolphins Talk Extra, you get free entry into the contest with an opportunity to win a cool prize. So head on over to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Use promo code DTXmas between now and the end of the game on Sunday, and you can get your first month for only $1. So it's a lot of fun over there. Dolphins Talk Extra. You also get access to our Discord and all kinds of other stuff over there. Dolphins Talk Extra. Hope that you will come hang out. And last but certainly not least, caneswear.com is the place to go for all the latest, greatest, best, and most affordable merchandise for your Miami Dolphins, but also for your college football semifinalists, the University of Miami Hurricanes. Go out it, get your merch, the best and most affordable. You can also get Miami Heat, Florida Panthers, Florida Marlins, Inter Miami, all the college and pro sports teams in South Florida. They got you covered. Caneswear.com. They ship internationally as well. So head on over there to get your latest round of merch, particularly if maybe you're not happy with what you got for the holidays. Go ahead and hook yourself up over there at caneswear.com. All right, Brain, let's dive into this game. Now, I guess before we dive into the game, the Dolphins just picked up, they poached a practice squad player, or a player from the practice squad of the Las Vegas Raiders. It's quarterback Cam Miller. They poached him from the practice squad and added him to the 53-man roster. Now, it is unlikely that he is going to be active for the game on Sunday. It sounds very much like this was a move that the Dolphins made, with an eye towards the offseason and perhaps, developing this player as somebody who could contribute something going forward. Anything we should read into this, Brain, or is this, really more of like the Dolphins just keeping an eye on a player for like a futures contract, that sort of thing?
Well, I would say it doesn't show a lot of confidence in Zach Wilson. I think you could pretty much write off Zach Wilson being back. Is what I would take out of it. Aside from that, not much. I would also say, it doesn't show that a lot of faith in Tua. I think if you're looking at quarterbacks when all three of the quarterbacks on your roster are healthy, then any quarterback that's not under contract for next year or could potentially be on the outs, it's looking strongly like they're going to be on the out. So I would say that if they're looking at a quarterback going into the last week of the season, even if it's just for potential development, and you're starting Quinn Ewers and Quinn Ewers is going to be here, then I would say it doesn't look promising for Zach Wilson coming back, or even Tua Tagovailoa coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's too much to read into it involving that. I mean, you basically understand that probably Zach Wilson is not coming back, and they've basically all but told us that Tua Tagovailoa is done as Miami Dolphin. I just think they're looking to have somebody in the building to develop for the offseason program and teach him the playbook, and it's a zero risk guy. It's like a 6th round draft pick. It was apparently somebody that the Dolphins had their eye on during the draft, but I don't know that there's a lot riding on it. I only bring it up because we may hear about him later when we get to our one hot take segment this week. So,
yeah. Well, I would just say that, if you know that you're not bringing Tua back, and you know that you're not bringing Zach Wilson back, and your plan is to sign a veteran, then this is your third quarterback going into next year. It's your hedge. and you're basically telling everybody, hey, we're not going to be drafting a quarterback in the first round.
Right. Which, which is fine. And again, I don't even know that you can read that much into it, but, I think it's neither here nor there is ultimately how I feel about it. But let's get into, before we talk about the game itself, let's talk about some of the things that are at stake here. Because the Dolphins, as they come into this game, the final game of the season, are currently slotted 11th in the NFL draft for 2026. Now, we knew going into the game against Tampa Bay that the Miami Dolphins, the best that they could do in terms of the draft is ending up with the 8th pick overall. Now, they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but because the Atlanta Falcons ended up beating the Rams on Monday night, the number 8 pick is still in play for the Miami Dolphins in the 2026 draft. All the Dolphins need to end up as the number 8 pick is they need to lose on Sunday, and they need the New Orleans Saints to win at Atlanta. They need the Kansas City Chiefs to win at Las Vegas, and they need the Cincinnati Bengals to win at home against the Cleveland Browns. Those are all possible results. None of those would be a stretch to happen. So that number 8th seed is still in play for the Miami Dolphins. Does that do anything for you, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love for this team to have a top 10 pick. Once you get, so the Dolphins last year picking 13, that is typically in an average draft. That's where you get to sort of the fringe of the elite players. It's usually, some drafts are more thin at the top. Some drafts are more robust at the top, but usually right around, 10 to 15 is where there is a drop off of, the truly elite players at the top of a draft class. So when you're sitting where Miami's sitting right now at 11, and you could potentially win this game and end up finding yourself picking what, as low as 13th or 14th?
As I'm looking at the draft order now, it looks like it looks like they could end up as, I don't think they can get all the way down to 16 or 17, but 15 seems to be in play for them.
Yeah. So, when you're talking about the difference of, even 5 spots in the first round, like, it's a huge difference. Just think about it as if you were trying, let's say you were picking 15th and you wanted to trade up to number 10. Think about what you'd have to give up to get there. You'd probably have to give up a day 2 pick, if not multiple day 2 picks, or a day 2 pick and a day 3 pick. Like, it's significant, the difference between picking even 9, 10, 11 and picking 14th or 15th. So, I would say that there's a decent amount at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's also a lot at stake for the New England Patriots as they come into this game knowing that a loss by the Denver Broncos paired with a Patriots win over the Dolphins gives New England the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. It is also possible that if the Patriots lose this game to the Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars win their Week 18 matchup, the Patriots could fall down to the number 3 seed in the AFC, which would set up a potential meeting depending on how things shake. There's so many possibilities in terms of how things could shake out in the AFC. Maybe the Patriots end up hosting the Bills in the first round of the playoffs, and I'm sure they maybe want to avoid that, but I think there's a lot on the line for both teams here, and I think it's going to play into how the game plays out, because the other thing that has to be considered is that this could, in fact, be Mike McDaniel's last game as head coach of the Miami Dolphins. There have been conflicting reports At one point, the reports that were all coming out suggested that Mike McDaniel was safe. And then we heard, well, not so fast, my friend, after they lost in ugly fashion to Cincinnati. And I think it's, it may truly be up in the air. We know that you feel, Brain, very confident that McDaniel's coming back next year. But I am of the opinion that I think a bad, in particular, an ugly result in this game could very well be something that opens the door for Mike McDaniel to exit the building for the final time after this game. Do you think there is anything to that idea, just in terms of like the players trying to get ready and get themselves up for this game? Is this like kind of like go win one for the Gipper sort of situation?
Yeah, possibly, but I don't think any more so than in weeks past. I think these guys are all professionals. They're all playing for themselves and trying to put out as much good tape as possible, because at the end of the day, if they put out bad tape, they're only hurting themselves as far as, their job security for next season, the contract that they sign next season. So these guys don't want to put bad tape out there. But I do think that game script has a lot to do with it. I think if you find yourself in a situation where in the second half of the game, you're down by multiple scores, it's human nature at that point. Like, you're not playing for anything. The other team is, and your game is just about over. Like, you're not going to go that extra mile. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, whether you want to say that's quitting or not, that's fine. But, so like, look at the game against Cincinnati. Like, second half of the game, they fell behind. Things started to snowball and they were done. But then the following week against Tampa Bay, they were playing from ahead. They want to win. They want to win football games. They're going to try to win. If they feel like there's something to play for, even in that week, that given game, I think they're going to continue to play hard. But they just need a reason to quit. And so if the Patriots come out and dominate early in this game, I could absolutely see the Dolphins folding. But I think the Dolphins will come out ready to play. It's just a matter of game script, I think, at that point, as far as how hard they fight tooth and nail to try to win this football game. The longer you let and this is, it's sort of cliche, but it's like when you're coming from the standpoint of a really good football team, what do they always say? If you're a really good football team, you want to take the hope away from your opponent. The longer you let a bad team hang around and believe that they can win, the harder it becomes to put that team away. It's the same thing in this, and the Dolphins are that bad football team in this scenario. The longer you let the Dolphins hang around, the more likely it is that the Dolphins could end up pulling an upset. But if the Patriots take care of business early, then there is a decent chance that the Dolphins could fold.
Yeah, the other thing that needs to be considered, and that may very well come into play in terms of this game on Sunday, is that we know that if the Broncos beat the Chargers on Sunday, the Broncos are the 1 seed, end of. It doesn't matter what happens in this game. If the Broncos win, they become the 1 seed. And so is this a situation where the Broncos are playing, by the way, Broncos are playing at home at 4:25 at the exact same time. They're playing at home against the Chargers, who have already said they are resting Justin Herbert. And I imagine are probably going to end up resting a lot of other players as well, because this is a team that is, the Chargers are basically trying to do everything in their power to make this Week 18 game a bye before their wild card game the following week. So is this a situation where if the Broncos have a big lead at halftime, do the Patriots kind of come out in the second half of their game against the Dolphins and take their foot off the gas and say, maybe we can rest some players as well, because they know that if the Broncos are running away with that game against the Chargers, the Patriots have another game the following week. They don't get a bye. So is that something that you think that they might do, try to take their foot off the gas? To me, it doesn't seem like that's a very Mike Vrabel thing to do, but you never know.
Well, number one, I mean, I didn't even think of it as a Mike Vrabel thing to do. Number one, if I'm the Patriots, I think the Patriots probably have the scoreboards turned off, and they don't show them the results of that game because they want them to play to win the game. Secondly, they're not playing for nothing, even if they don't play for the number 1 seed. The difference between the number 2 and number 3 seed, those two teams could potentially be playing each other in the second round.
It's true.
That means that's the home game. That
Right.
the 2 seed is the home team. So if I don't believe there's a scenario where the Patriots aren't trying to win this game.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And
Especially
I
given
think
that.
And I think, knowing that teams have done this before, I mean, hell, the Dolphins did it last year when they played the Jets. Knowing that teams have done it before where they turned off the scoreboards because they don't want their players thinking about it. They want their players focused on the game. They don't want that human nature to seep in. I just I don't see a scenario where the Patriots, sure, if it's an injury scenario, if it's like this guy's not 100%, and we there's a risk of re-injury, we want this guy 100% for the playoffs. I think that's something that's worth noting. But I think in that case, you're probably not playing those guys in this game anyway.
Yeah, that's probably right. You're probably being cautious with those types of players. And I tend to think you're right, especially considering the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the team that the Patriots are trying to hold off in terms of that 2 seed. The Jaguars are playing a home game against the Tennessee Titans. So it seems very much set up for the Jaguars to get a win on Sunday. And so the Patriots know that, if they can be that 2 seed, then that means, they've got not only a home game in the first round of the playoffs against the lowest seeded AFC playoff team, which I believe at this point is either I think it's the Chargers or the Texans at this point. Now I got to pull it up and look at it.
Well,
Bills
there's a
are
chance
11
that
and
the
5.
Texans could the Texans still potentially win the AFC North?
Well, the
South?
Texans could not win the AFC North. The Texans absolutely cannot win the AFC North.
The South.
They could, however, win the AFC South
Yes.
if Jacksonville loses to Tennessee. So
Right.
I suspect that the Texans are playing to win. It sounds like they are playing to win their game. The Chargers sound like they're going to be resting Justin Herbert, and the Bills sound like they're going to be resting Josh Allen in their final game of the season against the New York Jets. Now, does that mean I think the Jets are going to beat the Bills? I doubt it very much, but there are all of those factors to be considered. So I think, I think your point that the Patriots are just going to come out here and plan to just go out and win this game, I think that is absolutely the plan going forward. As the Patriots sit here with their 13-3 record, have an opportunity to finish the season 14-3. And it feels like that would be a point of pride for them, something that they would certainly want to do, to be able to finish with the, tied for the best record in the AFC is quite an accomplishment in Vrabel's first year, as they've got Drake May emerging as a MVP favorite for the 2025 season.
I'll tell you what I'm excited about. I'm excited, Josh Allen resting. I don't know that means Buffalo is going to lose to the Jets, but it means we're going to get a look at Mitch Trubisky. Getting frisky for Trubisky over here.
You're thinking about 2026 already, and Mitchell Trubisky, get him in there to battle with Quinn Ewers for the starting quarterback job in 2026. I think that's a great segue that you just provided for us to talk about what this Dolphins offense, led by Quinn Ewers, is going to look like in this game. Because like we said in the last show, they looked efficient in the game against Tampa Bay. They kind of let the running game do a lot of its work. They were able to play in a neutral to positive game script for pretty much the entire game. And while things were a little sluggish in the second half, only gaining 72 total yards in the second half of that game, I think they are set up to really get another test of Quinn Ewers getting his first taste of life on the road as a Dolphins quarterback. It looks like the game is going to be played in freezing conditions in New England this weekend. It does look like it's not going to be weather. Weather is not going to be concern in terms of precipitation, but it is going to be cold. And so we get to see if Quinn Ewers can take a step up from Tua in that, maybe he can continue to sling the ball even in cold weather conditions. So I'm very curious to see that. And then the other thing that I'm curious about is, can the Miami Dolphins continue to lean on the run against the New England Patriots defense that is not all that good and routinely is giving up over 100 yards on the ground to their opponents? So how does this Dolphins offense look in this final game of the season? Again, very important question, particularly if it turns out that Mike McDaniel's fate is not yet sealed one way or the other.
Yeah, to me, it comes down whether or not they can run the football. If they can run the football effectively, then I think Quinn Ewers will be fine, because I don't think they're going to ask him to do too much. They haven't really asked him to do anything special in his first two starts. And when they've run the football well, when he's had a positive game script, when he's had a positive down and distance, he's taken care of business and he's looked pretty good. When it hasn't gone that way, he has looked pretty bad. When he's been playing behind the sticks, when they were playing from behind a couple of scores against Cincinnati, when they've been in situations where it's a clear passing down, he has looked bad. But it's been two starts, so you want to see him continue to improve. But against a defense like the Patriots, I don't think it's going to be easy for him. If they can't run the football, they're going to be playing an uphill battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to take I don't know that the Patriots defense is that good. They're certainly an okay defense, but one of the things that I think that the Patriots have ridden to this 13-3 record is that their offense has been very, very solid, led by Drake May. But they are one of basically they have played among the weakest schedules in NFL history in terms of DVOA for a number 1 seed, for a number 1 seed. Like their schedule is very, very weak. I think there were two other teams that had strength of schedule that were looking at a possible number 1 seed with the strength of schedule this week. And I think they were like an early 2000 Rams team that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. And then one of those Bills teams that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Giants. So I'm not saying that the Patriots are frauds, but I think if there is a reputation that the Patriots have a really good defense, I think it's maybe a little bit misguided, because this is a defense that can absolutely be gotten at, particularly on the ground. And we've seen it before. Let us not forget that, what Devon Achane was, about a half foot out of bounds. 1 foot was half a foot out of bounds was the difference between the Dolphins losing that game in week 2 against the Patriots and coming away with a victory.
Well, it's fair. And I'm not going to say that the Patriots are like an elite defense or anything, but I think they're an above average defense. And I think while you can take certain things away from the week 2 matchup, would you say that the Dolphins defense is on par with the Dolphins defense right now? Would you say it's on par with the Dolphins defense that we saw in week 2?
I mean, I would say the Dolphins defense is better now than it was in week 2.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing for the Patriots. And I think when you talk about a team that is bringing in new pieces, the Patriots brought in new pieces too. The Patriots were bringing in a whole new coaching scheme and a whole new coaching staff. And so the Patriots at the beginning of the season were not the same Patriots then that they are now. And so it's not, again, to say that the Patriots are this, elite defense, but, they've largely been a very solid defense all season long, regardless of schedule. Sure, you can, take strengths of schedule into account. You could take a look and say, well, hey, when they went up against the Bills, they gave up 35 points. Yeah, no matter how good your defense is, it's tough to stop Josh Allen when Josh Allen is going Superman mode. But you look at this defense as a whole, and what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. They've played 16 games. 9 times out of 16 games, they've kept their opponents below 20 points. That's a pretty solid defense, regardless of who you're playing.
Yeah, it's true. So the Dolphins are going to have, their work cut out for them, especially on the road. And as we've seen, Mike McDaniel's offense doesn't travel well, particularly against good teams. So it's another opportunity. I will say that the stakes are not as high as they would be if the Dolphins were in the middle of a playoff race, but to go on the road against a good team is, especially in the cold, that's a scenario that the Dolphins have lost time and time again under Mike McDaniel. So can they bust that narrative even in a game that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot? That would be an impressive feat to accomplish.
Yeah, I would say that this game has a lot of parallels to the Dolphins game against Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, in that you're playing a division leading team that is playing well. They're a more physical team. You're playing on the road in freezing temperatures. Can you show up and fight? I think for that Pittsburgh game, what we saw was the defense showed up for the fight and the offense had nothing, had no answers. And then when Pittsburgh took a lead, that put the game away. And then you saw the defense start to fold and things just fell apart very quickly in the second half of that football game. Can the Dolphins offense bring the fight? If the Dolphins defense can keep them alive in this football game, can the Dolphins offense match that? That's what I'm looking for.
That is the question that we are looking for the answer to. And that's what I think, to me, that is the bigger question. I mean, obviously there's, the Patriots offense is dynamite. Drake May is an MVP candidate. They've gotten, without getting into the weeds on the details of Stephon Diggs' legal trouble, it does sound like he is going to be playing in this game on Sunday. He has, the Patriots took a risk bringing him in, but they've certainly gotten their money's worth and then some. With Stephon Diggs, they're getting the two-headed rushing attack with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson is working great. Travion Henderson has something in common with Devon Achane in that he's a threat to bust a big run anytime. And so that's something that you got to look out for. And then this is also a group that is getting a lot out of, some of the other guys on their team. They're getting a lot out of Mac Hollins. They're getting a lot out of Hunter Henry. This is a resourceful team that is using all of the weapons available to them. And that's part of the reason that Drake May is among the top 2 favorites to win the NFL MVP this year.
Yeah. And I like Drake May, and I think that he's obviously having a great year. I'm not 100% sold on this Patriots offense. Now, do I think the Patriots offense has a distinct advantage against the Dolphins defense? Because I don't think the Dolphins defense is anything special. Yeah, I think the Patriots offense probably wins that battle. But I don't think that this is like a Patriots offense that's a juggernaut. I think a lot of what the Patriots' success has been playing in a positive game script. It's been getting off to fast starts and then being able to run the ball, play defense, play from ahead, keep your defense off balance. What I saw in a couple weeks ago when the Patriots lost that game against Buffalo is ultimately why I still have doubts about the Patriots as far as being a Super Bowl team. And that is that once the Bills figured out how to score against the Patriots offense or against the Patriots defense, and were able to get back into that football game and eventually take the lead, Drake May could not beat them with his arm and their offense as currently constituted. But if this is a close game, or it's a game that the Patriots are playing from ahead, then I think it lends itself to, hey, we're going to run the ball at you. Drake May can run the ball at you. We can have a very efficient passing attack. But if you can force this team into obvious passing downs, I don't believe, and it's not necessarily an indictment on Drake May. I think it's more of an indictment on the build of this team at this given moment. I don't think that the Patriots are a dynamic offensive team. Their weapons on offense are a little bit limited on the outside. So if you can get them into obvious passing downs, I still have question marks about, can Drake May just absolutely pick you apart if he has to? Can he absolutely carry you with his arm? I don't think he's going to have to do that against the Dolphins, though. That's the big thing. I have questions about their ceiling this year. I think and I could be wrong, because I mean, I've been wrong on the Patriots all year long. I like going into the season, I wasn't sold that the Patriots were even an above 500 team. And a lot of that was because I was questioning Drake May. He's obviously made the step. He's obviously a very good quarterback. I question the ceiling of that offense as it's currently constituted, and I think they need a true number one receiver to hit the big time ceiling that they want to hit. I think Stephon Diggs was brought in to be like a number one, but a bridge number one that ultimately you were going to need to upgrade on. And I think that they're going to have to, and that's legal issues aside. I think eventually for them to reach their ceiling as an offense, they're going to need to do that. But again, do they need to hit their ceiling as an offense against the Miami Dolphins? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, then I think it might just be time for us to deliver our hashtag one hot take. So let us know if you're watching live or if you're watching after the fact. Let us know in the comments, what is your hashtag one hot take for Dolphins at Patriots on Sunday? Brain, you can go first.
Yeah, I think that, I'm very intrigued to see how the defense shows up. Can the defense play with fight and keep the Dolphins in it? I don't have a lot of faith that the Dolphins offense is going to be able to keep up with New England in a track meet. I just don't. And it's not even about how good New England's defense is. It's just about how, limited the Dolphins offense is. And I question whether or not Quinn Ewers, if playing from behind, is going to be able to have very much success. So I'm looking at the defense and I want to see continued improvement. Can they stop the run? The Patriots, by the numbers, by like yards per carry, they've been an okay rushing offense, but I think the efficiency it's kind of misleading, because I think that a lot of these games where they've had big leads in the second half, their efficiency on the rushing yards has gone down per carry, where they've been a very good rushing team overall all season long. And I mean, all you got to do is look at the numbers. Like Travion Henderson is at 858 yards rushing, Ramondre Stevenson 472, and then you still got Drake May at over 400 yards. So you got three guys with over 400 yards rushing, and Travion Henderson is pushing for 1,000 yards, and he's over 5 yards a carry. I know the Dolphins defense has improved against the run. I want to see, can they contain the Patriots rushing attack, especially in cold weather? And if they can, I think they can keep this thing relatively close and keep it relatively low scoring. My gut tells me they're going to struggle. And as much as we've seen them improve in that area, I think the Patriots are going to come out and just dominate. I think they're going to run all over this Miami defense, and Travion Henderson is going to break 100 yards rushing, and Ramondre Stevenson is going to break 100 yards rushing. Two Patriots players with 100+ yards rushing in this game.
Wow. All right. Brain. Bringing the heat on the final #1 hot take of the season. Let's go to the Dolphins Talk Extra Discord and hear what some of the people had to say. Reminder that you can get in on that by going over to patreon.com/DolphinsTalk, joining the fun for as little as $3 a month. And if you use the promo code DTXmas between now and the end of the Dolphins Patriots game on Sunday, you can get in for only $1 for your first month. So come on in to the Dolphins Talk Extra Discord server. Here we go. Patrick Mullen says Canes win the Natty. That's his hot take. It has nothing to do with the game on Sunday, but a lot of these Canes fans are drinking the Kool-Aid. I will say this as a Canes fan, at this point, the Canes are playing with house money. I did not expect them to get past Ohio State. So the fact that they've gotten this far, that's pretty outstanding. We have one from, and I'm going to say this correctly, and he's probably going to be so happy because I've been corrected that it is not NDA zone, even though that's what it looks like. It is N DAZN. N DAZN.
I still don't think he pronounced it. I think he meant it like in the zone.
Yeah, but that's not what it says. It doesn't say in the zone. It's the letter N and then duh and then zone. That is N DAZN, not in DAZN. If it wants to be in DAZN, add an I to the beginning of it. Anyway, this is Brady in the Discord, and he says McDaniel in his final game as head coach of the Miami Dolphins is treated to a complimentary trip to Mike Vrabel's woodshed, where he's generously administered a BTA whipping reminiscent of the one delivered by the playmaker yesterday to the Ohio State jersey-adorned Gatorade cooler. And then he says, go Canes. A lot of Canes fans over there in the Dolphins Talk Extra Discord. Misharon says, just like 2019, the Dolphins have another meaningless win at Foxborough that ends up harming the team for years to come. Martini Jack says, shutout. Alex Pena says, Ewers outplays May. Timbo says, Achane 175 plus total yards from scrimmage, but it's still not a close game. John says, Patriots by 20. Tua doesn't make the trip, ... home. Interesting. Mr. McDolphin says, the Dolphins win. Now that's a pretty hot take. And Al Craig 23 says, Dolphins fall flat in the cold New England weather. And then we got a couple over here on Twitter. One from PJ Pard. I alluded to this earlier. Cam Miller rushing touchdown. That would be really something. I can't imagine that Cam Miller is actually going to be active for this game in any way. I imagine that would really be something if Cam Miller was the emergency third quarterback and Tua was scratched. That would be incredible. And then Dave NJ Fin Fan says, Dolphins give the Broncos the #1 seed. Now, the Dolphins actually have nothing to do with whether or not the Broncos get the #1 seed. Although I guess that could mean if Jacksonville, New England, and Denver all lose, Denver would get the #1 seed. So I guess he's saying that the Dolphins beat. I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't think he's saying the Dolphins beat the Patriots to give the #1 seed to Denver. I think he's suggesting that the Dolphins would lose to New England and the Broncos would be the #1 seed. But, the Broncos... what the Broncos do is kind of irrelevant as to what the Dolphins do, unless, of course, they lose. So here we go. Let's see. Jeffrey D'Alessandro in the comments here from Facebook says, Mike McDaniel stays. That's a hot take. Maybe not that hot. I'll give you my one hot take, and I'm going to go with Old Reliable because this may be the last chance that I get to say this. At least from a Dolphins perspective, because if Mike McDaniel is gone, I don't know that the new head coach is going to rely as much on the fullback position as McDaniel has. So let's get it out there. Alec Ingold receiving touchdown. There it is. All right, time for score predictions. What is going to happen on Sunday? Brain, you predicted that the Patriots are going to win. What's the final score going to be?
Yeah, I think the Patriots are going to win. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I think the Patriots are going to come out and take control of this game early. And then I think playing from behind, not going to be really Quinn Ewers' forte. I think you're going to see some quit in the Dolphins, and I think the Patriots run away with this one. I'm calling it 38-13.
I think it's going to mirror that Pittsburgh game in a lot of ways, that this game is going to be close. The Dolphins offense might actually come out and look good early on, but then, as so often happens, the Patriots will make adjustments in the second half. The Miami Dolphins will not, and the Patriots will run away with it. Give me the Patriots winning this game by a score of 45-24. Take the over. And that is going to wrap up our final preview show of the 2025 football season. We will be back on Monday, reacting perhaps to the game, perhaps to some other news. We are expecting that regardless, by the time that we sit down on Monday evening to go live, we are expecting some kind of news, whether that news is that the Dolphins have fired Mike McDaniel, whether that news is that Mike McDaniel is being retained. We're expecting to have that information. We are hoping that by the time we go live Monday evening, that we will have information regarding potential general manager candidates for the Miami Dolphins. So regardless, whatever happens on the game on Sunday, we will be back Monday night to react to either the game or whatever news is developing. So much to talk about. We're going to have you covered all off season long here at Dolphins Talk. So make sure that you're following along. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liking all the videos. You're leaving comments, because it really helps us grow the channel and continue all through the off season. And that's when things really start to heat up, because if there's one thing the Dolphins always do well, it's sell a lot of hope in the off season to get people fired up. So stay tuned all off season long here at Dolphins Talk. We appreciate you very much. Share, like, subscribe. Make sure you're following. Make sure you're subscribing to Dolphins Talk Extra. Make sure you're shopping at caneswear.com. Make sure you're visiting dolphinstalk.com each and every day. And above all of that, make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. We will talk to you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody. And as always, go Dolphins!
Dolphins could cost a lot of people some money. All those people that took the Dolphins under 7.5 wins.